remember the exact moment I realized I had to let her go. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally started loving myself. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. For the last 5 years, I lived in what I thought was a perfect relationship. Madison James, smart, beautiful, confident, was the woman I thought I'd grow old with. We met through a mutual friend at a work party. She was charming, mysterious, and had this quiet confidence that made me want to know everything about her. Within months, we were inseparable. But time has a funny way of revealing the truth. The very qualities that drew me to Madison eventually became weapons she wielded in ways I never anticipated. First, I brushed it all off. The subtle sarcasm when I talked about my goals. The dismissive attitude when I shared something I was proud of. The backhanded compliments in front of friends. I thought it was just her being edgy, real, grounded. But over time, I realized it was erosion, little by little, wearing down my sense of self-worth. I worked a stable job in IT, but I had big dreams, starting a tech consultancy, launching my own app. She rolled her eyes every time I brought it up. "You're such a dreamer, Ethan. Not everyone's cut out to be the next Steve Jobs." Still I stayed. Because love makes you do that. Ignore the red flags, rewrite the narrative, pretend you're not bleeding internally. Things took a turn last year. I had saved for months to take her on a surprise trip to Seattle for our anniversary. I booked the hotel, planned the outings, even got us dinner reservations at one of the most exclusive rooftop restaurants. I came home that night with the itinerary in hand, excited like a kid on Christmas morning. She barely looked up from her phone. Seattle. I'm not really into gloomy cities. Besides, I made plans with Jessica that weekend. That hit different. Not because of the cancellation, but because of how effortlessly she discarded something I poured myself into. It was the first time I felt invisible in the relationship. Not long after that, the emotional distance between us grew into a canyon. She'd come home late, always on her phone, laughing at messages she wouldn't show me. I never had proof, but I had instinct, and my gut screamed betrayal. But instead of confronting her, I confronted myself. What was I doing? Why was I investing in someone who saw me as an option? Why was I holding on to a version of her that existed only in my memory? That night I decided to withdraw, not out of spite but out of survival. I stopped chasing her validation. I stopped trying to impress her. I stopped shrinking myself to fit into the narrative she had created for me. I withdrew from the emotional chess match I never signed up for. She noticed. She'd ask, "What's wrong with you lately?" And I'd reply, "Nothing at all. I'm finally figuring things out." But what she didn't realize was that I wasn't just withdrawing from her. I was preparing for a transformation. I moved into a small apartment downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Every corner of it reflected my new beginning. I started waking up at 5 a.m., journaling, hitting the gym, and pouring hours into learning about entrepreneurship. I read books, watched online courses, and began building a side business offering cybersecurity consulting to local businesses. I reconnected with friends I had neglected. I rebuilt my confidence one rep, one win, one small breakthrough at a time. I got therapy not because I was broken but because I wanted to understand the patterns I kept repeating, and destroy them for good. And the funny thing, the more I grew, the more she tried to pull me back. "Let's catch up," she texted one day. I didn't respond. 3 weeks later, "I miss you." I didn't realize what we had until it was gone. This time I did respond. "I understand. But I've changed, Maddie. And I'm not the man you left behind. I'm the man you never truly saw." There was a time when I would have run back to her at the first sign of regret. But I wasn't that man anymore. I had transformed not just externally but internally. My business picked up pace. I landed a contract with a mid-size firm in Chicago. I moved into a larger apartment, bought my first car outright, and finally, felt like I was living life on my own terms. And then one evening months later, I saw her again. It was at a networking mixer hosted at a downtown hotel. I had been invited by one of my new clients. As I was talking to a few fellow entrepreneurs, I saw her across the room. Same confident posture, same glossy hair, but a different energy. One that wasn't as sharp. She looked surprised, maybe even nervous when our eyes met. She approached. "Ethan," she said with a small smile. "Madison. Wow, it's been a while. I've heard things. Your business, your work. You look incredible." "Thank you," I said warmly. "It's been a good year. You always had it in you, I guess I just didn't see it." I finished for her. Yeah, a lot of people didn't. But that's okay. I had to see it in myself first. She nodded, lips trembling slightly. "I was unfair to you. I don't blame you. Sometimes we meet the right people at the wrong stage in life." She looked down. "I've changed too. I've been working on myself." "I hope so," I replied. "You deserve to be the best version of yourself, for your own sake." There was a silence between us. She probably expected me to ask her out again, to suggest coffee or reconnecting. But I didn't. That ship had sailed, and I had built my own fleet since then. I excused myself politely and returned to my conversation. Later that night she texted me again. "Seeing you tonight made me realize how much I lost." I read it, smiled faintly, and archived the message. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about showing off. It was about growth. About becoming the kind of man who no longer had to beg to be seen, to be loved, to be respected. I had withdrawn to heal, transformed to thrive, and reappeared as someone she no longer deserved. Not because she was worthless, but because I had found my worth. The journey wasn't easy. There were lonely nights, moments of doubt, setbacks that almost made me give up. But each time I wanted to revert, I reminded myself, growth isn't comfortable, but neither is staying stuck. Today, I wake up excited for the future. I run a successful consultancy, mentor young professionals, and surround myself with people who value mutual respect and authenticity. I'm dating someone new, Emma. She's thoughtful, kind, and believes in me even on days I don't believe in myself. But more importantly, I believe in myself now. So, if you're reading this and you feel unseen, unworthy, unloved, know this: you don't have to stay in a place that diminishes you. You don't need to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it. Withdraw. Heal. Transform. And when you reappear, do it as the person they never believed you could become, the person they can never have again. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's reinvention.